Yeah, I couldn't wait. Hey, it's Romania Black. No, I couldn't wait. How do you expect me to after episode 9, episode 8, episode 9, and then this episode? How am I supposed to wait? I know. So I just couldn't do it. No, I was like, I need to find out what happens. It's a rainy, stormy night. I was like, I just feel like the storm was brewing and I wanted to see Mob Psycho really, really badly. So there we go. But before we get to the Reagan Thirst update, not forgetting it again, I do have a few comments that are based mainly around episode 7 that I want to talk about, because episode 7 is so good. It's so good. And I have 3 comments related to it that I was just like, mwah, chef's kiss. One is from Cheese. Cheese says that it's really cool seeing that in season 1, we get the same meeting between these two characters. In season 1, we get Mob's perspective, and then in season 2, we get Reagan's perspective. And I was like, I know, right? All we need now is like season 3, and it's from Dimple's perspective or something ridiculous like that, right? Which I don't think is going to happen. But still, I like that how they met has had such an impact on their relationship, and that it's still going strong even as of episode 9, last episode. And then Pants said that Mob tells Reagan at the very end of episode 7 that he's known from the beginning that he was a good guy. But it gets even more impactful, right? Because Pants says that the word used exactly was iatsu. And that word iatsu for good guy is the exact same word that Reagan told Mob at the beginning when they met him, saying, just be a good person, or iatsu, that's all. So it's signifying that Mob internalized Reagan's words and took them so much to heart that when he tells Reagan that at the end, it's the exact same thing Reagan told Mob, and Reagan realizes just how much Mob's been listening and been influenced by him this whole time. It brings like the joyful tears to your eyes. It's so good, right? It's so good. And then Mara had a comment. They were like, it's from the official fan book. It's not brought up in the anime, so it's not maybe a spoiler, but you don't have to look if you don't want to. And I thought about it really hard because I usually stay away from anything manga related until the very end of the series because I'm afraid of spoilers. And I'm afraid of things that will influence information that will come out later. But the way that Mara phrased this was it was just about Reagan's family, and that's not really brought up in the actual anime. It's just, which I was still like, it's kind of like, I made the choice. Mara, spoiler tag, Mara's like, I'm going to give you the choice. You could either take the blue pill or the red pill. And I was like, I gave in this one time. I looked and I was like, okay, well, if it's brought up in the future, it'll be my own fault. Mara was kind enough to spoiler tag. It's not on them. It's all on me. But I did look at the rest of their comment to talk about Reagan's family post episode 7. And according to the unofficial fan book, Reagan's dad is a government employee who thinks that Reagan's unemployed. His mother is a housewife who thinks he's been tricked or in some kind of shady scheme. And then his sister, he has an older sister who is a bank employee, and she thinks he should turn himself into the police. And he's not seen them for many years. Can't imagine why. And I think that's so sad because what it tells you is that Reagan, his father has no faith in him. He thinks he's unemployed. He has no faith in him, or doesn't say he has a traditional job. His mother thinks that he's been hoodwinked, that can't think of Reagan as being a self-employed, self-made man. And his sister thinks he's literally a criminal. So it's like there's a 14-year-old boy who has more faith in Reagan than the entirety of his actual blood relatives. Wow. Again, it's that whole found family trope. You can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends. And I'm like, Reagan, I don't blame you for hanging out with them. I said a few episodes ago he needs some friends his own age, but maybe not his family because they sound pretty awful. So, but yeah, those are 3 really good comments, so thank you guys so much. I do have a few pictures from the Reagan Thirst update. Not too many, not getting crazy because I was really excited and I couldn't wait for this episode, but there were a few images shared in the Discord that I thought were worth making note of here. This one, truck, damn it, the one of Sho in front of the burning house. They didn't post this until after I said I'd watched episode 8. And they were like, bloop, and I was like, wow, timely. All we need now is Ritsu in the background like, sup, you know. So that one was hilarious. I thought that was very appropriate for episodes 8 and episode 9. I really like this Reagan drawing. He looks so good there. And the person just used the plushie as a reference. It's really good. I liked it a lot. I thought that was a very good, that's a really cool sketch. I think it's adorable. And then this last one, y'all, the internet is a dark and dangerous place at times. But this person tweeted that, you know, some dark, morbid humor. But back when Queen Elizabeth II died, it was right after Sands beat Reagan to be crowned the ultimate Tumblr sexy man. Queen Elizabeth died, and people were blaming Reagan. Now they had a thing on Twitter where it was 1,000% Reagan versus Sands, and from season 1. And right afterwards, Pope Benedict died. So, quit pitting Sands up against Reagan. Stop it. No one likes it. You're causing a mass exodus. But y'all, Mob Psycho season 2 has my heart, and I'm so excited. We had so many characters pop in last episode. I was like, oh god, Whiteboard Coon had to come out. We had a moment. I was like, now what are we gonna do? So I couldn't wait. I was like, I need to know. It's raining outside. It's drizzly and chilly and gloomy. I was like, what's one thing that's gonna brighten my evening? Mob Psycho. And here we are. So we're not going to waste any more time, y'all. I hope y'all are ready, because I sure am. We're going to start episode 10 of Mob Psycho Season 2. And we're going to do that here in 3, a 2, a 1. And let's do this. Oh. What a great episode. What a great episode. I would say things are in dire straits, but the thing about it is that there's lots of bad things, that different bad situations our characters are in, but I almost feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or a silver lining or something. I don't feel like it's as doom. Like episode 8, by the end of it, was doom and gloom, and episode 9 was just bonkers. And then this is just like setting up that I don't feel like the doom and gloom grimness of episode 8, but it is setting up that our rowdy would-be crew that Reagan is leading, that they have a very hard task in front of them. Not an impossible task, mind you. Not an impossible task. Although Shimazaki, the teleporting guy, is probably the most fearsome. I think he's probably the most scary of them all, but here's the thing. I have theories from this episode, and so I'm gonna posit some things. And like I've said with Modao Zushi and other series, I don't want to know if I'm right or wrong. So if I'm right, don't be like, oh, you nailed it. Or if I'm wrong, be like, no, Romania, it's this. Don't tell me. Let me figure it out, because I have a feeling I'm going to get answers by the end of the season, but they're not going to be the answers I think I'm going to get. And if they are, kudos. But yeah, God, this episode is really, really good. I still can't get over Goda. Goda versus the Hulk is like the best fight so far. I loved it so much. It was great. But yeah, so basically everyone seasoning cultural tower. I just love that seasoning cultural tower. Like, why? And here's the thing. So let's talk about the old boss. Let's talk about the claw boss. Right? Bosch. The claw boss. Sho's dad. All right. So he said that seasoning cultural tower he was familiar with. He wanted to go there because he knew it better. Because, like, Shimazaki, he makes a point. He's like, we could take over any place in Tokyo. Why did we choose this? Or any place in Seasoning City. Why did we choose this one? And he's like, oh, well, this one I'm most familiar with. I know this town best from here. So, make note that he wants to be comfortably in control. Like, I imagine that the tower, he wants to be comfortably in control, because at the tower, if they pick somewhere else in Seasoning City that he wasn't familiar with, then there's a chance he wouldn't be able. He's very cautious. I guess I put that on there too. He wants to be comfortably in control, and he's super cautious, maybe even paranoid about being in danger, because he wants to be in the most stable situation possible and not be in any danger. So that's why he put Oh, I'm gonna get his name wrong, but he had Serizawa and the teleporter. They're staying there. Like I said in the last reaction, they are clearly the two strongest. Serizawa and Shimazaki are the two strongest of the group. They're the teleporter and then him with the umbrella. They are the two strongest, right? And we're going to talk about them, but he wants to keep them close. So, again, apparently he has psychic powers. Apparently. Are they any good? Are they decent? Or is he kind of like the kids? We don't know that yet, but Sho seems to be embarrassed by him. So maybe they're not as strong as he thinks they are. He just wants to be presenting that way, right? But man, so it's possible they might be holding Prime Minister Yabe there, which yes, they are, who was abducted from Pork Bone City, prisoner insider, And so Teru having the lines under his eyes and the little cooling pad for his fever. Put Teru right here. We'll go through our characters here. Where Teru, where when he loses, he gets a fever. Gets sick when he loses. Poor Teru. But so he basically tells the crew about Shimazaki's powers. That he has the ability to transport anywhere. And the one guy says, according to the news, he can predict people's movements. I don't know if that's true. They said according to the news. How does the news know? Yeah, how could you be OP like that? I don't think he can predict movements. And then Sakurai, I like Sakurai asks the question, like, did you get a fever because of your opponent's ability? And he's like, no, just the shock of losing. He's like, I felt this way when I lost to Kageyama-kun and had nightmares for 3 days and nights. And they're like, oh my gosh, do you think there's more like him? Yes, there is. And Teru says, I was always confident I could take on anyone, but now I don't know what to think. So Teru, he is questioning his strength. That is the quest that we have with Teru. Teru is questioning his strength, right? And whether or not he can be strong enough. Which is curious because then over here we have Ritsu. Put Ritsu by Teru. And Ritsu, I'm going to put Ritsu and Sho together right here. Sho thinks that Ritsu can be stronger than Mob. And Ritsu is not sure of that. He doesn't believe that's true. So it's curious that we have Ritsu and Teru who are both questioning their strength in this episode. And then Sho is like, oh, well, you are definitely have more latent ability than Mob does. And Ritsu's like, have you seen my brother? Have you met him for more than 5 minutes? I don't think you have. And Sho really hasn't, right? But we'll go back here. So yeah, he says we chose this place for 2 reasons. And one, because he has, like, Serizawa is eating the omurice that the cafeteria has. And so I'm gonna put our boy Serizawa. I'm gonna put him right here. Because he's pretty important in this episode, I feel. Serizawa is eager to please and eager to follow. I imagine that the boss told him that the omurice was really, really good, and Serizawa was like, oh, I want to find out. And he went and got himself some immediately, right? Serizawa definitely does not seem like a leader. He seems like a follower. And he just wants to appease the boss and get on his good side, right? And then we have Minagishi, who has the prime minister tied up in these ropes, which is kind of hilarious. They're like tied up in a vine. And the other reason is that I'm from this city. I'm from this city and I know the city so well I can keenly monitor its changes. So yeah, so he's from this area. He's back in his hometown, taken over from the grassroots, right? And so then Shimazaki says this place is memorable to you. Maybe your old friends live here. And he says, I don't have any old friends. So he's kind of, he says he does not have friends. I'm like, is Sho a test tube baby? Did he even have a woman that he was in love with? He makes it sound like he wasn't in love with anybody. Or did something happen? I'm going to guess. I'm going to ask the question and pause it here. I don't want an answer. We'll find out maybe in this series. It may not even be this season we find out if we do. But did something happen to Sho's mom. Does Sho have a mom? Was he a testee? Clearly is this guy's son. They look too similar to not be. But, like, what happened to Sho's mom? Did she get killed and then he, like, did he go the Gendo route and just lost all emotion after she was gone? Don't know. He says, I can't think of any. I don't mind if you destroy it all. And then the one guy, Minagishi's like, but you remembered the Omer ice. And he's like, correct. He's so weird. He's such a dork. He is. He's like a dork. And no wonder Sho's like, God, Dad, you're embarrassing me. No. But yeah, so no, he says that he doesn't, like the Omer ice is something that's not human. It's something that it's like the only good thing he remembers is the dang rice, right? He doesn't seem to care what is destroyed. God, the correct face he makes in that little smile. He's so creepy. He's such a dork. But yeah, so they have the anti-terrorism squad, and basically he's like got all these espers that are artificial he's given powers to that are banding together like a bunch of ants to like move a building. And so, which of course the espers with the artificial powers, they're all too eager to do stuff because they're like, oh, we get to show off our powers. Oh my gosh. But here's the problem with all of this is that it's just causing a societal rift against espers. Because that's the thing. It's like a lot of the people in Claw already said they weren't going to be able to fit into society. And Reagan's like, yes, you can. The people aren't against espers. Well, some shit like this will make them against espers. Because like the cops in this episode say, they're like, oh, these guys aren't human. They're just destroying things. People are going to become scared of the espers. And that's going to be like a self-fulfilling prophecy to what the boss has told these Claw members. Like, oh, society doesn't accept you. See what we told you? And it's like, no. So it's very frustrating. Right? It's very frustrating indeed. And the one guy, he's been like monitoring and taking down airplanes. I'm glad they didn't show the airplane just like blowing up. But on the other end, it's just like Serizawa and Shimazaki are going to stay here. We'll show them how powerful that we are. And he says, now let's go. He's very much like Reagan, right? I'm going to posit that here because I'm going to come back to it. He's kind of like the anti-Reagan, right? He's the anti-Reagan. He says he doesn't have emotions. He doesn't care about people. And he's not here to make friends. And he doesn't care if things are destroyed, right? He's very much an anti-Reagan. So we go back and the kids are scared by what they're seeing because they're still children. And they're like, we don't want the city destroyed. It's not good. Like, we can't do anything about this. And Sakurai's like, what are we going to do, Reagan? And Reagan's like, we're not going to do anything. So Reagan, I'll put Reagan over here by Serizawa. All right. Reagan thinks at first he was going to have Mob help originally before things went really south and then these people started like destroying stuff. And now Reagan's like, oh, no. It is too dangerous. I love, again, Reagan and the boss, we'll put this here, are opposites. They seem similar, but they are not. Because the boss just said, I don't care if you guys die. I don't care if anything happens to you. I'm not going to mourn your loss. Reagan is doing everything in his power to keep Mob out of danger. He doesn't want Mob to get hurt because he would be really sad if something happened to Mob, right? He would not be very happy about it at all. So he was like, nope, it's too dangerous. He was just going to leave it to the authorities. And of course, they're all saying that's not going to work. The authorities are just going to get, they're going to get bamboozled and overrun by these psychics. That's not going to work out. And so he's like, Reagan's like, you've seen what we're up against. Do you think you have a shot? And they're all kind of like, well, not really. And then the one woman, she's like, we're not just going to sit here and just run away. We're going to have to fight or we're going to have to run away. And we're not doing that. And I like that Teru is like, well, no, Teru notably is on Reagan's side. He values Reagan's opinion. He probably sees the writing on the wall too and sees what Reagan is getting at and is like, he's like, it's not ideal, but yeah, maybe we should do that. And then the Claw members all start to decide that they're like, no, we need to do something, and they're going to go against him. And so then the fire insurance guy calls, but he's not convinced that it was a psychic incident. And I love that Reagan's like, can't you figure out? He's like, what do you mean there's not going to be a payout? You couldn't find kerosene or gas? I love that everyone in the room is like listening to this conversation. They're like, what are you doing? He's like, it was caused by psychic powers. Well, it's not my fault you've not dealt with this. Wait a minute. He's like, but my office burned to the ground. I'm penniless. Why do I even have insurance? And then Sakurai's like, hang on. Look at his face. I've never seen him so serious before. I love that Sakurai's, wait. He's having a moment. It's like, and it's that he can't get an insurance claim because the insurance man doesn't believe that it was a psychic attack. He's calling him out on it. And Reagan's like, you mean I have to find the arsonist who ruined my apartment, who ruined my office in order to get this claim? All right, guys, we're gearing up. I love that face. He's like, no. He's like, you guys are determined to fight, so we're going to then. I've changed my mind. I'll command you all just like you wanted. And he does. He's like, and we're going to win. I'm going to drag the damn arsonist to the insurance company. I want by the end of this episode, by the end of this season, even if it takes till season 3, I want Reagan to be dragging the boss to the insurance company and be like, this is the guy. Like, I want it. I want it so bad. I would laugh my ass off if he drug the Claw boss to the insurance company. He was like, this is it. Oh my God. I love it. I love his pose is kind of similar to the boss's too, except he doesn't do this. He just has the fiery passion. And they're like, he's all fired up. He's like, well, now that that's settled, we need to think of a strategy. And Teru's like, okay, shouldn't have doubted you, boss. And he takes off the little cooling patch. I was being a bit too negative. See, that's so interesting because it shows that Reagan has had a positive effect on Teru's negativity. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the fact that Reagan has had this positive effect on Teru, we're going to go back to that. I'm going to circle back around to it. But yeah, so then we cut to Sho and Ritsu. And I think that Sho just brought Ritsu along to show off to him. I think that Sho has a hot crush on Ritsu and wants to show off to him. And he's like, you're pretty strong. You probably didn't need my help. And he's like, well, your latent abilities far surpass your brother's. And Ritsu's like, no, there's no way that's true. He's like, life's not fun if you don't tell yourself that. Same goes for me. I'm more powerful than my dad. Okay, so Sho, he wants to believe he can stop his dad. So he basically is like, come on, Ritsu. If you believe that you're stronger than your brother, I can believe that I'm stronger than my father, whether or not that is actually true, right? And we don't know if it's actually true. But then we have Minagiri, just like in the OP, right? Minagishi, he's like, you're the leader of the uprising, Shokun. A textbook rebellious phase. And Ritsu's like, his aura's peculiar. Who is that? He's like, he's one of the highest echelon of Claw. Minagishi, the plant user. Okay. You get turned into plant food. And so then the one guy is a healer. The other guy... What's fun is that all of the friends of Sho's, his comrades, they're all secondary colors. They're secondary colors. They're purple, orange, and green, which are not primary colors. They're secondary, which is kind of a play on the fact that they're not they're not the primary trio, right? That's curious. I like that. Okay. And so then he's like, and Ritsu's looking at him like, he's just got, and I love the Sho's like, you guys are defending me, what? And Ritsu just sees the fan, and he's like, I have my doubts. Which Ritsu was not wrong. Ritsu was right to be worried, because Minagishi, so he's worried worried for Sho's friends, because Minagishi kind of gets the upper hand, and Sho's friends make an opening. So poor them, though. They just get like swallowed up by Minagishi's plants. It's like, oh God, it's not good, Cotton. So the group back at Reagan's are trying to use their psychic powers to get the cars to go up against the other psychics. And it's mainly Teru, but the two kids, the guy with the pompadour, the one guy, one of the twins, and then Takeda, they're helping him. He's like, we need to buy as much time before they realize it's a decoy. Poor Teru, though. Teru looks rough. He's got bags under his eyes. He looks like he hasn't slept. He looks pale. He doesn't look good at all. And the one guy's like, is my telekinesis helping at all? And I don't think it is, but Teru's nice and says, no, it's fine. But then he's like, I need some help. I can't do this alone. And that's when another Claw member shows up. And it's Takeuchi. And he uses his mysterious powers too. Meanwhile, Inoue has led Sakurai and the other Claw members down below the depths of the sewers to go, but they end up running into Shimazaki. They were going to go and try to kidnap the president, right? It's really sad though. Like the plants, I love the plants of Minagishi's design. They're so saturated and colorful and cute. It's like, they're really pretty. I'd love to see this. Eventually, when I'm done with the series, I want to go back and look at the manga. So that would be a lot of fun. But he's like, I should get a little serious. And he makes note that, I want to make note here too, that healers are rare in this world. Healing psychics are rare. Because he says, oh, well, Sho's friends function as a attack, defense, and support characters, which is fun. But yeah, so healing types are rare in this world. Okay. And then we cut back to Reagan and Mob. And Reagan's like, man, he's really knocked out. And he basically says to Dimple that he wanted to be there when Mob woke up so that he had someone there to like help explain the situation. So again, Reagan, sweet Reagan, he wants to be there for Mob. So cute. So cute, y'all. I can't. But then the one guy gets up there and says that there's trouble. The security system picked up some intruders coming in. And Reagan's like, how did they find this place? Like, there's someone that has, like, a tracking power for psychics, probably. This whole scene where they go in the back room of the bar reminds me of Jurassic Park. I kept thinking of the raptors when the raptors go into the kitchen. And, like, especially when the one guy that leads the psychic group is, like, hiding inside the cabinets. It was exactly like Jurassic Park. That's all I could think of. It was great. But yeah, they go to the jazz spot back there to find Reagan. And the one guy unplugged the fridge for him so they wouldn't be cold in there. And Dimple's like, do you want me to possess you? And Reagan's like, no. And he tries to tell me, he's like, I'm not an Esper, but this kid is. And he needs to go to a hospital. And they're like, this guy looks suspicious. He could be packing a weapon. They're like, frisk him. And Reagan's like, all you're going to find is a cell phone and a handkerchief. Oh, and this spray that'll knock you out. And then we find the Hulk guy. And I like the callback that he got the spray from Sakurai. That was a really good, it was a nice callback there. And Reagan's like, this guy's just an idiot. It's great. So then we cut back to the president. And it's just like there's all around the tower is just destruction. Like buildings upon buildings destroyed. And he says, what a splendid sight. We've destroyed. And some of the lines that the boss says, I'm like, he's so hammy. He's like not Sosuke Aizen or All for One levels of hammy, but he's right up there, right? Where he's like, we destroyed all that, yet I don't feel a bit of remorse. I'm like, are you telling yourself that? Trying to make it seem like you don't? What? So he says he has no remorse. He's trying to make him sound like the worst villain of all, right? But man. And then he says sacrifices must be made in the name of world domination. So, and then Shimazaki does not seem amused. Shimazaki is just like, whatevs. But Serizawa just, he doesn't seem to be listening at all, right? He talks about no remorse and making sacrifices to win. And Serizawa, this part here where he says they must be made in the name of world domination. Serizawa says, is that really true? That line. Serizawa, he doubts the boss. He's trying to be a leader, or he's trying to be a follower. He's eager to please the boss in general, but he seems doubtful that what he's saying is true. He's like Mob, right? He's even got like the black hair and everything. He's like Mob. He says, is that really true? And the boss says, why the long face, Serizawa? He's like, let me give you a word of advice. And he's like, oh yes, President, I'd love to hear it. The secret behind my undying positivity is because I've never once concerned myself with how others feel. So that is something there where he says that because I have no empathy, I can't feel negative. He's like, I always feel positive because I don't care about anybody else. I don't care what people think or what they do or if stuff happens to them. And I'm fine with that. It's like, ugh. But Serizawa, like, he still is eager to listen to the boss. He's like, I don't concern myself with how others feel. And then we see him as a kid. I've lived my life exactly how I wanted. And we see him like studying as a kid. We see him like, he has those like bushy eyebrows. He kind of looks like a dork with his trophies and everything in middle school. And then, like, he's using his powers, and then we see him, he has, like, the plaid pants like Teru does, and he's using, like, it looks like Death Note, where he has the pen and the apple. I'm wondering if it's a Light Yagami reference. And then it shows him as an adult. And what did he say there? He says, everything will always work out as long as I can count on myself. I doubt my spirit will break even if I ever lose all of you. So, he says he only relies on himself. And that's it. And he can never be disappointed. And it's like, well, that's one way to live, I guess. But then Serizawa, he says that he would never be concerned. He's like, so I've decided to take over the world, and I'll do so even if it's by myself. Since I have the audacity to say that, the world is basically already in my hands. Yeah, it's so weird. He's like, my audacity is going to lead me to my success. Again, it's very much like Reagan. It's that fake it till you make it vibe, sort of. It's very similar to Reagan, but it's like the anti-Reagan. It's like the polar opposite, right? Because Reagan tries to come across like he doesn't care. But he does quite a bit. And he is saying he doesn't care at all. But now the question is, does he not? I don't know. But he just has that anti-Reagan feel to him, right? And he's like, Serizawa, I think very highly of your potential. And he does the same thing that like Reagan does to Mob, where he puts the hand on his shoulder and Serizawa's like, oh. And we see him like the umbrella lifts up and we see his eyes and he's like, oh. Like it almost seems like the umbrella was casting over Serizawa's eyes so he couldn't see what Serizawa was thinking. And then the moment his hand goes on there, Serizawa's like, oh, like it had some sweat dripping down. Like, oh yeah. You held back on Joseph, didn't you? Yeah, you didn't want to hurt him. You need to obtain an unimpassioned, audacious positivity. Then you can just be like me. Ah. So he wants Serizawa to be heartless. He wants Serizawa to be heartless. And this is the real difference between him and Reagan, like what really makes him the anti-Reagan. He wants Serizawa to be heartless. Reagan wants Mob to have a heart. He wants Mob to listen to his heart and live by it. Whereas the boss wants Serizawa to forget he has a heart, right? And Serizawa is like, oh, well, if I do my best, I can be a corporate executive too, right? And Shimazaki's like, what? He's like, his misunderstanding has gotten even worse. This isn't a company. So yeah, so Serizawa, he's kind of weird. Like he thinks He thinks he can be a CEO of Claw if he follows the boss. But Shimazaki's like, that's not how this works. You're not going to be a boss. There's no company. This isn't like that. Shimazaki's like, what the hell? Like, he seems so, like, he's just sitting there sweating about it. And the boss is probably going along with whatever delusions Serizawa has, because he's like, you're crazy powerful. And if I can make you heartless like me and use you, we'll be unstoppable. And Shimazaki's like, this is weird, right? And so, yeah, Reagan tries to get out of there, and then this one guy just keeps getting jacked up, and Reagan trips. Reagan is, in fact, as Dimple says, Dimple's like, you're insanely lucky. Did you know that? And Reagan is, because he trips at the right moment and gets out of the way as the one like Hulkster slams a hole through the wall. And I love Reagan looks back and he's like, Mob, no! Like, he wants to keep Mob safe no matter what. And this guy has psycho steroids. He sends psycho signals to his muscles to continually adjust them. And Reagan's like, yeah, okay, bye. And it just makes him even madder. And Dimple's like, fine, that's it. I'm taking over him. And Dimple does a great job taking over Mob, but it's still the body of a middle schooler, so not quite exactly. And I love that Reagan says, I once joined the boys' volleyball team on a trial basis. Okay, y'all. You've seen Haikyuu. I've seen Haikyuu. What position is Reagan? Is he a setter? Is Reagan a setter? Let's go through this real quick. Let's take a hot second and be like, what position of volleyball would Reagan have played? All right? Volleyball. Would Reagan have squeaked his way into the captain's position? Probably not, because he said he was in high school, and I think in high school he was not as sure of himself as he is now. So probably was not the captain. No. But what could he have been? I don't think he would be a middle blocker. He's not tall enough to be a middle blocker. No. A libero? Could he be a libero? You know what? Maybe Reagan, a libero, going in clutch. I'd want to say he's a setter because he would be able to set the ball to others and have them do it. I would say he would either be a setter or a libero. I kind of want to say, I say setter because he is kind of like the control tower. He is the guy, like the man with the plan, but then he's not. But then he also can come in clutch when you need support. So I would say libero or setter. So I'll put a poll out on Twitter and Patreon to test the waters. But what position would Reagan be? Would he be a setter or would he be a libero? We'll debate that till the end of time, right? But I just love that. He gets like ready to go. And then Mob's like, I can beat him, and lures him away. And that's the last time we see Reagan. Reagan's like, oh my God, are you going to be okay? So now it looks like Tome-chan and some of the others are watching what's happening on the news. And they're not psychics. We're seeing this from an outside perspective as civilians. But here's the one guy. The one guy with the Kamari, speaking of Haikyuu, the Kamori like haircut. He says, look, I rolled a super ultra rare. And the other guys are like, oh, wow, for real? Like, this, he's like, Inukawa, did you spend more money? Like, the funny thing about it is that all of this insanity is going on, but the regular civilians don't care. So, maybe everything will be fine. By the end of it, maybe society won't be shaken by all of this. I don't know. It's just kind of like a funny commentary that there's all this manic, crazy stuff going on, and these high school kids are like, I got a super rare card. It's very much a commentary, sadly, on, I think, a lot of society where there can be literal wars going on, and a lot of people don't care. So, or it's not affecting them. So that is sad. That's kind of like a dark commentary on that, but it's handled in trying to be very humorous way. I thought for the longest time that it was Mob chasing after the Body Improvement Club running on the bridge, but now that I'm looking, it might be Onigawara. It might be him, like catching up with them, right? Yeah, it looks like, Onigawara. It's funny because Onigawara is the one struggling now, and he's the one that looks like Mob when they're running away. So, that's really interesting. I want to say there's 6 guys here total. So when they run away, I want to count them. Okay. So yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, And then, yeah, Onigawara is the last one. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, fun times. And so then the Scar members decide that they corner Teru and the others. And then the one guy that had been working with them, he says that he was a spy gathering information and offers to switch sides like a damn double agent. He's like, let me join HQ's operation. And they're like, Terada! Like, Terada, I always forget his name. And then Teru's like, this is a nightmare. I love that shot of his eyes. His eyes are so blue, Teru's are. But yeah, Teru is like, what do we do? Because Terada has betrayed them. So, just going over here to outline this lovely shit show that's happened. We have Terada. Terada has seemingly betrayed Teru. We have Shimazaki showing up to corner Rei and the 7th Division. We have Minagishi. Minagishi has made plant food of Sho's friends. Sho and Ritsu are at the tower where the president and them are, which is not good because they're by themselves. They don't need to be by themselves. Mob and Dimple are fine. Reagan is fine. So they're good. And then, yeah, and seemingly the boss. And, well, Shimazaki's with them, and the boss and Serizawa are in the tower. Okay. Cool. And the one guy, and the guy that controls electronics. Okay. So yeah, so this part right here, up until Mob, like Teru's in a sketchy situation. Sho and Ritsu are in a sketchy situation. The other members are all in a sketchy situation. The only ones that are kind of okay right now are Serizawa and the boss, and then Mob and Dimple, and then Reagan. But they're all split up. So what do we do with that, right? But God. And that whole animation where I like Sakurai has a gun out like he's ready to go. I'm like, what are you going to do with a gun against a teleporter? And he says, let's end this here. And then meanwhile, so this part here, Mob goes into the crowd, right? Against the Hulk. And Dimple is possessing Mob, right? But I'm going to put Mob up here. Just going to note this out to the side. That Dimple, as Mob, saved Tsubomi. Now, the question is, will Tsubomi notice that it wasn't Mob? But she couldn't see his face. She only saw his back and saw him get yeeted. Did she know it was Mob? Because he says if something were to happen to Tsubomi-chan, Shigeo would erase me! Yeah! Dimple's like, oh shit, if anything happens to her, she's the one girl that Mob likes. He'll kick my ass if I don't help. And he jumps in front to protect her, saying I have to stop him. But then he uses the barrier and gets knocked away so hard that his possession gets thrown off. Oh my God. Luckily he's like, what the hell, a home run out of the park? No! Didn't know this was a baseball anime. And then Shigeo does not wake up. He's caught instead, thankfully, by the Body Improvement Club. So maybe Tsubomi noticed it was Mob. Maybe not. We don't know. We don't know at this point. Oh my God. But in any case, God, I love this fight where they all try to protect Mob. And it's so dramatic. It's so dramatic. And Goda getting over the top of him, he's like, he doesn't deserve to have you step on his head. And he talks about how Mob's worked so hard. He's like, he's worked so hard. He's been a source of our courage. He's like, he's not going to break because of something like that. And I really thought for a hot second when he started to get the different rays around him, I thought that Goda had unlocked some kind of psychic powers. And I was like, no. But no, it's Dimple possessing him. I love it. And he maxed out his 100% muscles. 100% muscle usage. God, it's great. It's like, how are you even a middle schooler? How? And then everybody's like, you did it, Captain. And Goda's like, I don't know, what I do? What? But of course, he comes back. And luckily, Mob this time, Mob knocks him out. And Mob's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to use my psychic powers to hurt anybody. But I fell asleep and you guys look like you were in trouble. So he's like, oh, oops. I fell asleep. And I love the lesson at the end of the day that go to them say, make sure you don't fall asleep outside again, Kageyama. Don't fall asleep outdoors. We can't trust you for anything. Oh my God. And they can't see Dimple. I love that the sign of the place they're under says bad man. And it's in the alleyway where they just destroyed a villain. It's just, oh my God. And then Sho and Ritsu have shown up at the place. He's like, just you wait, Dad. And he doesn't call him Otosan. He says like Owaji, like, which is kind of like saying old man, not giving him like a courtesy title. And then his dad's just at the top looking creepy as hell. Looking creepy as hell in the shadows. So here's my thing. Here is my thing, y'all. My thing about this, okay, is that the situation, it could be a lot worse. Could be worse, but it's not good. But yeah, Teru, I'm hoping in Teru's situation that Terada says he's going to betray them all, and then he pulls like a triple cross. Like he double crosses, and then he double crosses the double crossers to save the boys. I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. I hope it's like a fake out, and that he ends up like saving Teru and the others. Because I'm like, Terada, you were just starting to get on our good graces. Don't screw this up. Now, Shimazaki, no clue how we're dealing with Shimazaki. No clue. He seems like the most OP one because he's not like Serizawa where he's easy to please or eager to please, but he seems like he's problematic. So I don't know how they're going to deal with the teleporter. No clue how Shimazaki is getting dealt with at all. Minagishi, his plants are powerful and he seems really super strong, but I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like he's not invincible. He's just really troublesome. And I feel like maybe Sho's friends weren't as strong as he thought that they were. So I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do with Minagishi either. I feel bad for his friends. Hope they're okay. Hope they're not dead. And then Sho and Ritsu, I'm a bit worried about them being at the bosses with Serizawa. Really worried about that. I don't know. You want to think that the boss would have no problem hurting his son, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes down. I'm curious. I have no clue how Sho and Ritsu's plotline is going to go, or Minagishi's. That's the thing about this series. It leaves you up in the air. You're like, I don't know what we're going to do and how we're going to handle any of this, right? And then Mob and Dimple. Mob, I feel like, is going to go at the tower, going towards the tower, because that's where everything's happening at, and then he's going to come across Ritsu. That's going to be a thing. Don't know how we're going to deal with that. And then Reagan, I feel like Reagan's going to end up at the tower too to help Mob out because he wants to make sure Mob is safe. And that leaves us with the boss and Serizawa and the guy with the electronics. I don't know how we're dealing with the guy with the electronics. I have no clue. But here's my thing. In the OP, there's Sho fighting the boss, his dad, and Serizawa. If Mob and Dimple are going there, then they're going to fight them too. I don't know. What's interesting is that Serizawa is trying to appease the boss to work his way up the corporate ladder, right? He's trying to work his way up the corporate ladder that doesn't exist. Like Shimazaki even says, he's like, there is no corporate ladder. This isn't a corporation. You don't know what you're doing, right? He seems very impressionable, right? He doesn't need the boss. He needs Reagan, right? He needs Reagan. Reagan, at the moment Serizawa started acting like a mob, I was like, wait a minute, you could, Reagan needs to show up, and because Serizawa seems really, really strong, right? And seems like he'll be the most problematic because he believes he's doing good for the boss. And maybe Sho can reach him. Maybe Sho can be like, Serizawa, my dad is an idiot. Don't follow him, right? But I feel like Serizawa, he needs an anti-boss to get him out of the situation. And the only person who's like an anti-boss right now is Reagan. So Reagan's reached all the other psychics. Maybe he can reach Serizawa too. I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go with this. I don't know what's Reagan going to end up doing, right? Reagan wants to get the boss because he wants his insurance claim. But I don't know. The whole time seeing Serizawa being like Mob, I'm like, okay, if Reagan goes to the tower to save Mob, maybe like if Serizawa is about to hurt Mob or something, Reagan would be like, whoa, no, don't listen to this guy. He's an idiot. You do you. Your life's your own. You know, that's kind of the motto of the OP. So, I don't know. I don't know if I can wait. I don't know if I can wait. These episodes are so damn good. And I just want to know. I need to know, y'all. I need to know. So, I don't think I can wait, y'all. But we'll see. We'll see. So, I hope you all, though, have... I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Going to put a poll out. See if Reagan is a setter or to see if he is a setter or a libero. Your thoughts. Or if you don't think either, comment down below. But I hope you all enjoyed this discussion reaction. This episode was awesome. Goda, the animation on him, all of it. I was like, yes, please, 1,000 times over. Everything, anything, love it. And now I'm really excited to see what happens in episode 11. We still have 3 episodes left, y'all. I'm really excited. I love season 2. It's so good. But I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 11 of Mob Psycho. Bye.